Hey everybody, another great episode of Scrotus Potus. I'm Wade McWayne. We've got some great guests joining us today. We've got Craig Campbell, all the way from Canada, and Rick Kiesewetter joining us from New Jersey. Amazing episode. We talked a lot of great things. Racists, protests, Nazis. Oh my, what's going on in America? You're fired. Steve Bannon's gone. Who's next? And can Trump run anything with no one working? Eclipse 2017, you're going to burn your eyes out. Don't stare at it. You're all going to die. Idiots with trucks. Jerry Lewis. Hey, it's the end of the world. We're all talking. It's a great episode. Join us for Scrotus Potus. Another amazing episode here of Scrotus Potus. Returning guest, probably one of our number one returning guests, Craig Campbell, all the way from Canada, is here. And joining us first time, busting his cherry. Rick Kiesewetter.
My cherry.
You're originally from New Jersey.
That's right, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
but you've been living in the UK now. For how long you been?
Me live here a long time, yeah. That's right, man. I've been here for about 20 years now. So
Here?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plus I'm a British citizen now.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Which part of Jersey?
Yeah.
Jersey, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
which
just a
part?
Jersey guy. South Jersey, sort of mid-Jersey, sort of Cherry Hill.
I only know
Yeah.
Hoboken.
All right, that's North Jersey.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
okay, yeah,
from
I
the
just
Jersey
dipped
that Bruce Springsteen sings about, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
is that the good part of Jersey?
It's a part of it.
Yeah. A lot of factories.
Well, it's not. Lots of like lakes and stuff.
Oh,
and,
right.
stuff like that. You know.
Okay.
Now, Jersey
so
at one
a bit
point, I
rural.
remember saying I was a factoid guy, but Jersey at one point had the highest average income of anywhere in America, but also had the highest
Number of CEOs.
but also the highest amount of like pollution. Was that
Yeah.
something?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Is it
everybody
a lot
comes
of rich
from
New
New York.
Yorkers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New York, and also all the Philadelphia Eagles. They live
There.
in
which
Jersey. Yeah.
pollutes
yeah.
it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, yeah.
He's an Eagles fan.
I'm an Eagles fan,
Are
so
you?
I love the Eagles, man. So I like them.
They're football, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
No, obviously, we're going to get into, because we're talking about a lot of what's happening in America. Racism,
It's rife.
Yeah, racism.
Still there.
Yeah.
Hard to keep up.
I
Yes.
mean, now-
yeah, of course.
I mean, they're saying
remains.
in a lot of ways it's easier to spot, like that whole Charlottesville, which is
the
absolute-
flag. You mean the flag?
Yeah, well, it's a garbage, all this sort of racism goes on, and we've talked about in the past how it's more noticeable in America when you go there and you see racism.
To interrupt already, don't you think subtle racism is worse in a way?
Well, because it's harder to spot, isn't it?
Exactly.
You
The
don't know.
insipidness
At
of
least
just-
those people
yeah.
you go, you see their faces,
like
you're like, oh,
privilege.
you're a racist with the racists.
Yeah.
You guys are in a row of racists.
Yeah, I
But
can
this,
work
this
that out.
other person's like, I'm not a racist, but.
exactly. Yeah, worry about those people.
Have you noticed it, Rick? I mean, since you go back quite a bit, and obviously you're a person who might experience it more than, say, Craig and I might. Have you noticed it?
Why? Why would
I know.
why would that be, guys?
I don't know.
So,
Because we're racist. No,
All right,
because
okay.
no. Have you noticed it more? Or
I was raised in the 80s, so it was a little bit, like Craig says, a little more quiet.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then, but when I see stuff like Charlottesville happening, I just think, well, yeah, okay, well, yeah, you're marching along. People are going to be upset.
yeah.
And also the fact that what I particularly liked about it is that they made their own shields.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of kids, just like making their own shields, like Roman
Like
shields.
He-Man
yeah,
kind of stuff.
No, just like
but they're
wooden.
Of course.
Wow, that's pretty. That's a lot of thought.
Well, I think they're probably feeling they're going into
Yeah,
battle and
yeah.
expecting to die.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's some of that, going
Well, I
on.
mean, by
there.
die, you mean losing their job and potentially being outed by people
I
in
think
social
that's
media.
a lucky outcome for them.
Yeah.
Right? If you're that bold and you're willing to take on rage
Yeah,
that
yeah,
boldly and head
Sure.
on,
Yeah.
you would certainly expect that dying, especially in America, is a very real possibility.
It's certainly, if you're at a racist rally and you have a shield, it
Yeah.
certainly makes a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a
you
fun
want to
lover.
go to Valhalla.
You kind of.
You're in a way. Yeah.
But I think a lot of these people too, when you
does,
hear
yeah.
about these people that got caught, it's almost like that sort of Brexit. No one really knew. They thought one thing was going to happen, another thing happens. Like,
Yes,
it's
I
a lot
agree.
harder consequence. Like, I didn't think I'd get
Yeah,
fired.
yeah,
Like these
yeah.
millennials, I didn't know my mom would get mad. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's funny. You line up with
You
a bunch
wore
of
a
people
shield.
holding a swastika. You
Yeah.
know.
Some guys expected to die.
Yeah.
You just lost your job.
Was it a swastika? Because I mean, some of the symbols,
Yeah, there
I
were a
can't
few,
really
yeah.
understand.
There's a lot of the symbols that I think they try to take them and they try to a lot of,
Add bits to them.
yeah, and they'll just try to take pieces to
That
it.
said, when the other side has symbols that are also the hammer and sickle,
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
we have to see this in a sober light as well. You know,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
Well,
like,
that's the
there's
other thing
pain all over this planet, and
People talk about this, and because
communism was
obviously
there.
the United Nations condemned America for the racism, and the United States was like, "A little ripe coming from you guys, isn't it?"
But they still authorized Libya.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and they
and
still
Israel
raped
and all
everyone
the-
in Haiti.
They still let
and
Israel
half
get
of
away with
Africa.
all their shit.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that
Thanks,
kind of stuff.
UN. Cheers.
I think the other thing that people were sort of worried about, and you know, the Steve Bannon has got on this anti-fa movement, which is these anti-fascists.
Speaking of communists.
Yes. But these anti-fascists, when you actually start looking at it and sort of the violence they have incited in Berkeley, and you can't be blameless on one. You can't be blameless on that side either. When you have people gearing up, ready to fight, saying, "If we think you're a racist, we'll attack you."
You know that things are like, you do realize for sure that things are hitting the TV screens right now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
And you agree?
Totally.
We are in a world of where, like, people are chucking whatever was in their hands right now at your voice.
Yeah.
And that's, you said something very sober and understandable.
Exactly.
So,
But to look at it both sides, and people obviously looked at Trump and go, "You can't say that." Obviously,
To
you
turn
can't.
that
You
into
can't
you
take the
praise
side
them.
of racism ever. You can't.
Yes.
You know, that racist made a good point. You can't.
It's
ever
a sideshow. It's a sideshow, isn't it? Because would we have to declare that to each other? That's what bothers me about it. The declaration of, like, of course, it's a non-discussable entity. It doesn't need to be, like, verified. I realize, like,
you have to be when you're handling any topic like that. You have to be pretty articulate and
which, you know, a lot of these people
gloves on.
A lot of people are not, because they're so reactionary that you know, they want to go and you know, they wear masks to conceal their identity. Anti-fascist groups, they want to disrupt, they want to cause violence, and so if you're trying to cause peace and sort of offer a sober second thought, I think
Did you say try to cause peace?
To cause peace.
To cause peace to happen in America.
I'd like to cause peace.
I'd love to be
like
there.
that.
I'd like to cause
Get some
too.
peace going. That's a very American principle.
It is,
But
man.
You fuckers.
there's got to be that
Peace.
side where there's balance, because in each side, every time you have groups like that, you're always going to have the radicals. There's few group of radicals who just cause shit and make it look bad for everyone. You know, amongst the
they're
racists,
undercover
there's a
police.
few bad racists of the racists that even some of the racists must go, "God, that racist is really racist. I don't even know if I'm that." Like, he even hates certain kind of
they
white.
make racists look good? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
well, he just makes certain racists go, "You know what? I don't think I'm a racist
not
anymore."
that kind.
But you point that is, of course, how many of those groups all, and to what degree, have been infiltrated as well, and contain a body of officers from various different organizations that are very much present when it's like a march on General Lee's statue day.
Yeah.
So that's an element of it as well. And I wonder sometimes, I throw that sometimes as like, is that the stand down? Is that like, you know, the police in Berkeley likewise let people just, you know, battle it out? And it's like, you know, the police really, the only reason you can honestly give the federal government reason to exist is to keep the peace.
Yeah.
Right? Like, to influence the police to do something about people battering each other. That's embarrassing in itself. So you have to imagine, is something ulterior going on, that there are so many officers immersed in both sides' movements that they just don't want a random bloodbath of guys getting knocked out with, you know, weapons. And I say that sincerely. I know that sounds insane.
That's certainly
but like,
a point of view, Craig.
well, when you know the statistics actually of how many are infiltrated, it's not of course. Yeah, it's going on.
Well,
we had it over
the police
here.
force are people. They're human beings.
Of course.
And they've got opinions.
And we had one over here where an officer had a child with a lady and you know, had a family on the side as, you know, his police.
Oh, he was, that's right.
If
I
you're,
remember that
you're
story.
aware of that.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's what's going on. It's
Keeping the
terrifying,
side
isn't it?
piece. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, officially being paid for it.
Is that what the community support workers do? They do that as well, or do they have like a whole infiltration?
I don't give them that credit. I do,
because they're not really police.
I think
officers.
work the pencil. Everything will work out for you.
I think that there's a lot of vitriol when you have sort of that anti-fa movement or the anti-fascist side. I think the left, because as you say, sometimes with the right, it's hard. It's easy to see if you're a racist.
Can we remove sides and just say the violent violent is it for me that as soon as you're introducing like that you've got a bat and you're going to work people over, like you've broken something in the Constitution there. It's not like, and you're similarly expected to go away potentially. You know, if you come with in America, you start ball batting somebody, like the number of people you know yourself, just bam, just like, now it's over. Like, you're going to die on that day. I can't believe more people weren't killed.
Well, going
that is surprising.
Isn't it?
It's a very good point, Craig.
When you head into that, as you say, that mindset with violence on your mind, it's like road rage. It's like, I'm gonna fuck someone up today.
The
you know, there's that real sort of horrible human element that comes as a result of it.
Yeah, but how hatred for that and how abhorrence for that and not acceptance of that has been turned into that Trump praised them.
Yeah.
Right. That like Trump praised the, you know, the right, you know, the arguable right, if you know, National Socialism, but that Trump praised the Nazis when in fact he did find balance. I do argue this. You know, I'm not a Trumper, but it's best to attack somebody when they're definitely doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And when you're just trying to mitigate between two violent factions who are both violent, you know, sensible words are best, especially, again, in America. How many, you know, 400 million armed people, you know? It's really, or, sorry, assault rifles, 320 million people. I love that you have more
guns.
than
Just you never despair,
everyone
right?
picks
you
one
know,
up,
everyone remembers the horrors of Russia during World War II. There are not enough guns.
Yeah,
no one wants to run into that again.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is something that, you know, is racism ever going to disappear in America? Can it ever disappear, or is it something that Americans actually like?
Wow, and you're both looking at me like I have the
answer
answer to that.
Because we're both Canadian, Rick. I don't know if you noticed that.
You need a peace bone.
I don't know. I think there's always going to be the differences between people, and sometimes dependent upon how you're raised and where you're from, you handle these things in a different way. Some people handle it aggressively, and or they blame people, or they blame a situation, and it's an easier face. I mean, it happened. It's not a new thing. It happened during the internment of the Japanese Americans during World War II. It's after
natives.
They were actual American citizens, and they were interned, 200,000 of them. So, but it was just easy because
they're different.
They look like this.
Yeah, and the war was on.
And
that helped,
the war
sure.
the war was on.
Yeah,
that was a big thing. But I was saying that feeling of that. You know, hey, you look different. The question was about racism.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, there wasn't the same reaction towards German Americans or Italian
but if we could have spotted them,
but if you could think,
Well, they're actually, because I grew up in Kitchener, Ontario, which used to be Berlin.
Trump wouldn't be.
It was all German, and so a lot of my next door neighbor fought for Hitler. He was 14 when he was caught.
New Berlin. Back in New Berlin days.
It was Kitchener, right? It was Berlin. They decided to call it Kitchener, who was one of the worst war criminals for Britain. But he was horrible. He was horrible. But so we had a lot of my friends' dads were German, and they fought. You know, they were taken at 12 to 14 to fight for the Hitler Youth, and they came back. And obviously, it's like, you know, they were Nazis. So you'd have people, and there was that anti-German sentiment, even though there was loads of Germans, but people were like, you used to be a Nazi, weren't you?
Wow.
And so you'd hear it in schools and stuff like that. It's like, oh, your dad was a Nazi, you're a Nazi, you're a Nazi sympathizer. Wow. So, you know, there is still some of that, but it was a white on white.
Could all of that be condensed down to like all of the problems with the internment and whatnot of just like ignorance?
Yes.
You know, and fear, and that, you know, you talk about that dynamic of just individuals that meet and disagree. But when we now have mobs, and especially the balance in America with the electorate, and what appears to be a very, you know, equally balanced left and right in terms of both violence towards each other and the middle ground of voters, it's a real, you know, polarized place.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good point, Craig. I mean,
and they don't know anything about each other and don't appreciate.
There's a particular dynamic though with mob behavior, and so that's where the shields and the funny symbols come in, and
so maybe we look at it.
So
the boldness.
The boldness of it. But I mean, if we think about, you know, just personal everyday, just reassessment about just by judging, like I can judge you right now, Craig.
Do it.
You'd be wrong on every
you got
count.
some stuff in your beard, you know, you're sweaty.
There's soup in it, okay?
You know what I mean? So I can make some assessments about that.
Of course, it happens every day.
But I know that, you know, those are wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some might be right, but you know, I can't just go by that.
What about comedically? Do we get into the sense that it should also be entertaining? Those misunderstandings and those mistakes, which of course lead to mockery. That's a situation that we have. If I can give you like a balance of how we look at like what America must be up to. Yeah, we just grew up in like real rank, functional multiculturalism, where like almost every country of the world's represented, and all of them are wearing hockey clothes, and they're all
you
kids.
Guys did.
Yeah,
see, I didn't.
Yeah, I know, of course.
They all thought the Leafs
sucked. This is where our contrast is, that it's hard for us to even fathom what goes on down there, because we're not used to things being inflammatory or incendiary. We're not used to like people being at each other's throats for the potential.
I find that really hard to believe.
Of course. It's crazy, isn't it?
I look at you guys, I think, is that really true about Canadians?
Oh, yeah.
That's
and
it is.
Going back.
It's madness.
I was back in Canada a couple weeks ago, and it was back, and you see all these different faces and all these different faces and all these different races, and they all say the same thing. The Leafs suck. which is our hockey team. And all talking this real Canadian, oh, geez, man, you watch the game, they're not even playing well. They're going to be crap this year again. And it's like every face is saying the same thing.
But you also know the depth.
Great.
Absolutely, it's great. But you also know the depth of knowledge, because we're not idiots as a like social group of previous fascist occasions. And one thing that you will get, like when you have that much multiculturalism, like it's interesting if you go to Toronto, if you're on a bus with 100 people, like 15 of them will be white, right? And the rest will be all over the place and all different people. So the idea of like racism rearing its head, it's just like, it doesn't happen.
No.
Like people you just get knocked out immediately. Like that's the one thing, because of the diversity of the place, that's a flashpoint. Right. So it just doesn't ever rise its head, because there's never an imbalance of like people that would agree with them in the moment.
It would be a baton out of fist.
I'm just looking at you like this, because
it's really bananas.
True?
Yeah, it's true, because we fight all the time in games like hockey. But you don't get guys like telling each other racial epithets. That just is an unknown entity of how they don't like each other. It's quite a funny thing.
But it could be something interesting for America. And
changes,
touching on Craig's point earlier, what if we did a show, like a political show in America, where the first round was debate and the second round was mass round of violence? So you could talk
now
your issues out. You first, okay, next, then sending them off. Okay, we had a good beating on one side. Okay, let's talk about how that fight went.
It's
sort of like the UFC meets politics in a way.
I think, you talk about solving the problems, and then you solve it.
Then it's just like grab a weapon, smash the hell out of each other, come back
with force,
and talk again.
You could do that with marriages, you should probably do that.
Mine was like that.
I think there's an argument for that is the model of America, if you don't mind me being hyper offensive. That
no, it's not
being
offensive.
Deceitful and being extremely violent when you're distrusted or you're in any way
violent.
Deceitful and violent. There's nothing that better epitomizes that entire sphere of like concept. As a society, as a culture. So that's why it's also, we find dangerous to be on the fringes of it, because they're the psychos that did drop the bombs in World War II. They're the psychos that did drop 4 times the bombs of World War II on Cambodia. They did beat Korea badly, and that's why they're angry and they're defensive. So we're in that world where we're like looking at America for the next psycho, throw the grenade in the hole type move and then blame the other guy, and it's a really imbalanced place.
I think one of the things though is that America is huge. It's flipping huge, right?
Yeah, sure.
And the thing is, I tend to view it as various countries. I lived in Virginia for a while, and I had a relationship with a black woman, and it's like an Asian man and a black woman, and I went to a diner and we went in there, and it was just like, what you doing in here, boy? Wow. And it was whoa, because they'd never seen anything like that. That was just like,
but it's affronting to them.
And then it turned out later that they actually followed us in his truck, in his pickup
truck. Deceitful. They were being deceitful.
And then he had
attempted violence, right?
And then in the back, I leaned back and I'd seen, looked in the rearview mirror and I'd seen the fact that he had a gun rack. He's had it in Virginia, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is great. But that's Virginia.
What was he?
Virginia.
Was he a police officer?
No, he wasn't. He looked like Craig. But he had a check shirt on. So it's different.
So
but the thing is, your shirt on.
Yeah.
But again, I just spent a long time in the last 6 months in New York City, and that was
multicultural.
No. That was just like
diverse.
It was Asians everywhere, and
noticed.
And no, dude,
Rick even noticed.
Dude, I was so happy because I haven't been into a place where so many people looked and sounded like me, and I
like
just
a house of mirrors.
Well, no, and I just thought this is what white people must feel like. And I got to tell you, it felt good.
Yeah, good.
Because it's just like one of those things where I just went and and so what I'm saying is America is a very, very big place. And so
diversity,
and also like Canada. It's
similar,
very French in certain parts.
Yeah, we keep them in one little area though.
Do you really?
Cold part, yeah.
Do you really?
Very Asian.
It could be
Vancouver, of course, or the West Coast. Famously, and
more so than they're outnumbering white people. Yeah.
Are they
more
outnumbering white people?
It says in Vancouver.
I don't believe that's.
But then it'll just clip out that bit right there.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Let's talk about other crazy sort of racist guy. Let's talk about Steve Bannon. What do you know? Or he's fired against. You're fired. Trump has fired more people.
So why was
more
he
imbalanced?
Okay, what?
Well, the problem is they're saying that after the whole Charlottesville stuff, that he didn't come out I think he was more on the offensive tone than the defensive. He's sort of what they say, a known anti-Semite and racist, which how do you know that? I mean, because he was in Breitbart? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I think they were saying...
Should he have had the job if that was the case anyway?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But maybe there was problems between Ivanka and Jared. I think that there was problems that I think he was just a little contentious behind the scenes. He was the ultra-nationalist. He was the anti-globalization guy. He was the guy that...
But was it made as the flashpoint was his reaction to
Charlottesville, I think.
Is that true? Okay.
I think that was part of it.
I consider him collateral damage then, because I don't know a lot about the policies of that guy. I try not,
Well, I mean, he was influential. He was influential in the inner core. But I mean, Trump's fired a lot of people now, and you wonder how many people you have left running the system. Is it just like Trump employees, like the maid from the Trump Towers, like, I'm in charge of economic policy now?
Well, with Kirshner, yes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. She did a really good job at Count Towels, let me tell you.
I mean, I did find out though that he just made up that job.
Oh, like anyone else bullshit their way?
No. I'm saying he made up that title. It didn't exist. Chief Strategy Officer. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a marketing agency or something like that.
In a propaganda exercise.
Well, I mean, maybe maybe it's just an indication of how that.
Come on.
Well, somebody has to handle his tweets, but the thing is certainly.
Deceit.
That was, I don't know if it's just deceit. I think it's,
misdirection, subterfuge.
Well, I mean,
distraction.
I think one of the things, yes, but I mean, I think it could be said that, remember I said about somebody in these situations, whether it's dealing with race relations, things like Charlottesville and firing chief strategy officers or whatnot, it takes a really articulate person to actually navigate all of this, and he's not that guy, and he's just not that guy. And the thing is, I know he gets a lot of bad press, right?
Very Jersey,
but I will say, he's not that guy. This is the fucking fruit stand over here. Okay, let's go to a fucking fruit stand. Go lay the pipe.
What do you expect?
Anyway, but what I'm saying is he doesn't surprise me because I mean
Well, I think a lot of people in Trump's administration didn't surprise people because a lot of in his draining of the swamp, he brought in people that did not have Washington experience. Yeah, and him found a conservative. He's a former Navy SEAL, a former Goldman Sachs banker, a Hollywood movie producer. Started his own website, so he's like one of those sort of. Part of that archtype.
I just
of
realized
Trump.
I didn't do the dishes before we came here.
Exactly. Sorry. That guy does a lot. I love the sink running.
Gets out of doing the dishes.
So, I mean, there is something to be said. And, he's even gone on the Twitter offensive now.
Oh, no.
I read one of them. CNN, Boston. He retweets the Boston Police Department. BPD is asking individuals to refrain from throwing urine, bottles, and other harmful projectiles at our officers. And funny enough, his little snippet was, CNN told me that golden showers was Trump's thing.
Nice hit though.
So
you got to give it to them when they're being funny, and they are.
So Trump has nothing against the peaceful Antifa protesters, besides the fact that they're a group of violent douchebags. At Breitbart, because now he's at Breitbart again, and he's basically said that he's going to unleash basically the war on all of these anti-Trump people.
Who's to know that
and all
that
these
wasn't
people.
The plan?
And probably at Breitbart, we drank liberal tears for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, there's something to be said too that apparently he has something a hard-on against Ivanka and Jared, who he believes interference, and I think that they're sort of worried because Trump and him have parted on amicable terms. But will he then turn?
I was just going to interject because if any of what you're about to say is true, he would already be dead. Yeah, that's what we have to get away from. That these actors are only that. You know, there's no seriousness of their actions within their clique. Right. Yeah, because they'd be dead. It's America, right? Like everyone can get a shot from everywhere.
It's the same thing. We got the Conor McGregor fight coming up this week, and a lot of times people are talking about, is it actually a real fight, or is it just this hyperbole that gets to the distraction of the theater that sort of keeps us away from knowing what the real facts are?
It's tweets where a man's being humorous.
That's quite a conspiracy, man.
Yeah.
Well, that is.
You don't think a lot of stuff is distraction? I mean, the Conor McGregor fight. Come on, that's all hype and circumstance.
Yeah.
No, but it's all.
But I thought you were trying to link that with distracting from political situation.
Trump is Conor McGregor. I'm sorry. Did I not say that? Yeah.
Do you believe in any conspiracies?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. They exist, but I mean that was I'd never.
I'm linking the fact of hyperbole of all of these events that people have. That sometimes we need the distraction. There's distractions that the 1% give us to not see what the other hand is doing, which is usually fondling us in some really horrible way.
Wow.
Yeah. That's my conspiracy.
I totally concur,
So I mean, you wonder what's going to happen because Trump has obviously, had him on board, and, America had another military accident yesterday where someone cracked into one of their ships again. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch
Who's
that. Where's that?
driving? Who's
Yeah, no, there was a
driving?
ship in Singapore got hit by another freighter, and 10 sailors missing.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, and the last guy.
This isn't the 8 sailers missing, the other
no,
one, or
that
the 7
last time,
sailors?
which
Yeah,
they
okay.
think they
Same
figured
thing.
out was the Americans' fault because all
The
the
other
guys got
boat
fired.
couldn't.
Yeah. Well, all the jokes.
The
tend
American
to
boats were like
go toward
circling.
that.
Apparently, the American boat was circling, and then it got hit.
Yeah.
This one apparently did some crazy maneuver and got hit.
Yeah, because that tanker can't move.
Yeah, it doesn't have the
it doesn't-
pivot.
It's a big spear.
yeah.
But this is right off the port of Singapore, so 10 soldiers got hurt.
Yeah.
And Trump
Missing, you said. Yeah.
missing. They're
Wow.
missing. Yeah.
Okay.
So you sort of wonder the sort of state of who's carrying on all of these things, and Trump obviously didn't respond till very late and later until he found out about it.
I guess some would argue we're just happy it's not a big Japanese ship turning around.
Yeah.
Right? Well, they got that going for them anyway. Got the Japanese out of Singapore.
So
I know that's their hyperbole.
it's The other thing I want to sort of touch on now,
you just really can't distract from anything they're doing without like you'd be speaking German coming out of nowhere, right? Like,
that always comes up.
Yeah,
If you weren't, you'd be speaking German. Something that's big that's happening this week. It's actually happening today.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened very often. It's the solar or the eclipse.
yeah, of course.
The moon is going to pass between the Earth and the Sun, giving us a full eclipse.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are looking at this in some sort of 2000 Nostradamus, end of times, end of world. This is a sign, end of Trump.
Oh, insane people.
Yeah.
All right.
What I really like, though, too, are the anti-eclipse people. Now, these are the eclipse
They're trying to
conspirators
stop it?
peoples. No, they believe, and I read an article, and it was passed around yesterday.
Get on my shoulders.
This one guy believes that it's a conspiracy based on Amazon to sell glasses, because that's the way Jeff Bezos can make himself richer. That actually we can stare at the eclipse and it won't hurt us. It's Bezos selling these glasses, and.
Stop this way.
And
this
this guy,
going on the Earth?
this guy's his article I was reading, and
The
some of these people
hell?
agree that if we can predict the accuracy of this in the minute, and we can't see this online, this guy's like, we can predict the accuracy of where it's going to be, but I haven't seen proof of it. And the hotels in the path are already sold out, and these hotels still have chains in Washington D.C. So this man has linked this all, and some of these people. That the eclipse itself is done as a means of rinsing the American people from their money, and you are safe. Stare at the eclipse. Wow. How many blind assholes are going to be across America tomorrow?
That is amazing. I hope that guy has migraines constantly.
Plus, you can actually just fashion out of card.
Well, you can do the pinhole thing.
Yeah,
that's
you can
right.
just not look at it.
Yeah,
sure,
or
right?
you cannot look at it.
The last solar eclipse we had was 1979. I remember
You
that
ever look
one.
down the barrel of a gun to see if there's a bullet there?
Yeah, like
Get me the flashlight.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of people are concerned. I remember when I was a kid, it was a
Yeah.
big concern to look at the eclipse.
Unless you had a welding mask.
Yeah,
Everyone
welding
knew that.
mask. But then it's like, oh, well, and people are like, you can't stare at the eclipse. I'm like, do you stare at the fucking sun? Like, that's the same thing, man. If you stare at the sun, it's going to do that.
I think it's not. I think it gets it more to a laser intensity.
It can, but it's like staring at the sun is still going to fucking do that. It's like people go, oh, it's dark, so I don't see it.
No, it's the difference in the shape of scar that you want
You
on your
will get a
retina,
scar.
right?
Yeah, you
of
will
course.
burn it.
Yeah,
You
but
will
you want
burn
the
it.
whole sun
You'll
there,
burn
or
it
do you
staring
want
at the
ring,
sun,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, of course. So
But so these people that start
you
doing
get
it,
designer scars.
and obviously animal behavior, because people are wonder what happens with animals, because
Right.
animals start freaking out,
Yeah.
and, but they see stuff coming.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that there's going to be this whole viewing across America. It's great. You can watch it online now, but the hysteria that comes with it when nature happens, that people have to equate some sort of global dynamic or personal dynamic to it. People are like, this eclipse is going to change my life now.
Well,
things are on the up and up.
I think that ancient history is so suspect in terms of like archaeological theory that anything that delves in this world to me is a total red herring. When you consider like what the Victorians in Britain knew about, the global the global geometry, that you can find things in, there's things in London that are pointed at the North Pole exactly, and all that going on at the same time as there's denial of what the pyramids in Egypt are all about. And if you ever even give like a tiny bit of interest into that anybody for a moment thinks that like anybody with just tools or a bunch of slaves carried stuff, you're just like, okay, now you're a bold liar, but you also represent like 98% of all of Egyptology. and we're in an age where these things are institutionalized and need to be questioned. There's like all kinds of archaeology that doesn't line up. The lineage of human civilization has archaeology, as you know, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is at 13,000 years old. That was left and then buried with sand, and it doesn't fit any archaeological record. So as soon as we get into what anyone's going to think when the moon hits the right place and how we see the cosmology, I just think there's going to be a few Morris dancers dancing and a bit of hacky sack.
Well, there's certainly
but nothing
to build on what you were
real.
saying. Actually, there's certainly a history of man using these natural events as some sort of explanation for things. I mean, I don't know any facts, but I do know that scene I do know the scene in Apocalypto. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
With the heretic sort of priest,
and
he knew.
And those pyramids know exactly what time it is.
He knows
of course.
exactly that's going to happen. But also, I mean, I think it's
Power
probably one of the things that we sort of forgotten. The fact is that people, who are more susceptible to those type of things, and the total eclipse is actually only going to happen in the middle America. So it's like the states like Missouri,
where it's not cloudy.
It could be for those kind of states. It could be God. It could.
No, it will be.
Not just. Well, that's what I'm saying.
God
For them. That's what I'm saying. It could be something about.
But most
homosexuals, or somebody's moving to Montana or something.
But most of their biblical record and their biblical story doesn't link in with that which we're talking about, like those earth sciences. That's why I don't find it to be something that's incendiary or potentially because it's totally off their radar.
Well, I don't know, but I'm saying the total eclipse in that area, it's going to have a sort of almost mythical, magical
effect on the remaining natives.
On those people there. They'll be like, whoa.
Incest is okay because the eclipse is here.
It's okay. It's happening.
There's also, I mean, you start looking at the same sort of people. There's people, and you start seeing it on Facebook, because that's where I get all my information. I'm not banned from it. But these flat earthers of these same things, these people believe, and I remember reading a story about a guy fully believed that he thought, he was like, I used to believe the earth was round, and then I go on an airplane and I realized I see everything, the earth is flat. And this guy is going around trying to convince people.
You know who gives them platform?
Didn't a chicken try to do that first?
Famous people attacking them. I believe it was. It was first posited by a fowl that was able to speak. But now the idea that that large preeminent scientists need to buttress with these people. That's what I find suspicious about it. That's the only thing that I find suspicious about it.
You're giving them valiance by basically giving them credit by saying, "Oh, that's your."
You would have a beer with those people and just walk away. You don't need Miku Kaku to come in and
figure it out for you.
Totally. It's a very that's a suspicious element of it.
I like that guy.
Well, there also has been some good experiences from
it. I wasn't actually. I was thinking of Neil deGrasse Tyson deGrasse.
Well, if you look at that, actually, a good thing from the 1919 eclipse that we had was when Einstein was actually able to measure and form the theory of relativity based on functions that were happening within the eclipse. Right. And he was actually able to pause it and finish his theory of relativity. So hopefully, maybe science will come up with something good.
Except the precession.
Maybe North Korea will figure out how to work that bomb.
Yeah.
We should talk about North Korea.
I would imagine the things we're talking about are actually the conundrum of military global positioning, right?
Well, you'd wonder about that because the power, power's going to go out. Things sort of drop, and with solar flares, you wonder if anything's going to happen, if that affects the military. It also is sort of silly because at the same time that we've got this eclipse, we've had North Korea threaten to eviscerate Guam. Today,
with a splash.
Today, America and South Korea are hosting their Ulchi Freedom Guardian exercises, drills. Is it too early after all of this talk?
Yeah.
And on an eclipse to maybe host some things that are going to make the guy pissed off?
Well, I mean, I think all the other indications are that Kim Jong-un will do anything to wring any bit of publicity out of it. He is just so... He's good at it. The dude's good at it.
You know what's also horrible about it is that the West, ourselves, have no other comparable show of celebration to put on. We have nothing else in our cultures that is financially fed to the degree that when you can pull out the aircraft carriers and everyone can put on their tank hats and march around. It's quite sad that that's the real only display.
We bump into
look
ships.
what we can do. Exactly. Is that an exercise? Bumping into freighters?
And if I can just I believe you can correct me, but I think that he's only threatened to strike offshore of Guam. I believe. To my knowledge, he's said that he'll show that he can put it quite close to Guam.
Well, they're saying the exercise they would do. But he has
totally.
He has threatened to turn America into a burning fire, and he's also threatened.
That was a different. We all get angry.
Yeah, of course. But he also threatened Australia too, because Australia's taking part of it, and he said that's a foolish move and it's a suicidal act on your part. And Australia's like, whatever, buddy.
Well, war games should be.
Yeah.
To be fair, if you've done what has happened to North Korea, and we can all appreciate, we're now dealing with a battered country. We have conspired as a globe to isolate and really abuse a part of the world that you can certainly say is no fault of the North Korean people. If anything, you can give tribute to their boldness and their braveness. But you've got, they're in charge. It's a cult in charge of a psycho, and it's a death cult that's afraid, and rightly afraid, of being, as you say, was it eviscerated? Yeah. It's just that's what we're threatening to do to them with fire and fury. It's terrifying that we're doing that. This has always bothered me with American politicians. It's just why are you so apocalyptic? Why do you have to be apocalyptic? Give concession. Why don't we feed them something? Why don't we give them one day where there's less restrictions or something that, throw me a bone with when you're, dealing with someone who's crying in the corner and screaming that they're going to stab you with a knife if you come in the house. It's
I see
terrifying.
what you're saying. So you're essentially saying you should have. That the U.S. should have thrown them a bone in 1938.
No, I'm saying now.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that the repercussions of such
display in front of
but
them,
what I'm saying is that you're saying that it's rooted way back. I mean, because it's trebucheted the way that North Korea is now is partly due to the actions of
our unfairness toward them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's also it's going to be what also hems and haws with him too is that he watches other regimes get taken down. So he watches Saddam Hussein get down on propped up charges. He watches Libya go down, and for him,
good reason. Yeah,
holding on to the nukes, the nuke threat means I get to stay in power. He's not tied into the IMF. They're not tied into the banks. They have loads of resources that could make plenty of fancy new technology. Yeah. So why wouldn't America want to just go and go, fuck you, we're taking this? Because that's what they do.
Yeah. To me, it's only because of the North Korean people. Everything that you've said, I agree with. Is part and parcel with the regime, and that that we also have a regime. So you can appreciate we do very little to change what we do. Yeah. And if you can't see that part of the humanity of the North Korean people, because it's ridiculous to look across whatever it is 50 yards of land and see people in the field with the hat on, and you wonder what they might be like, and they're only doing the same. And the idea that we just that they're human collateral and we can obliterate them because we're angry at a psycho who's behind them is really
but that's the hard thing when you've got a circumstance.
Well, leading them
exactly.
Craig, he's leading he
with
is a psycho.
With an iron fist that yourself he's one of those guys that I believe has he not killed a relative with an aircraft
uncle
with the aircraft once you get into shooting people with aircraft pom-pom guns you're in a different level of mental and so
but even if you are to
reach
out to North Korea though you reach out in any sort of way now it's only going to be seen as provocative and it's not going to be taken seriously. I mean, America did make a step in saying, look, we don't want to replace you. Yeah. And that's the first time they've ever said that. We actually said we don't want to replace you. That's a big thing. Because they also know it's an unwinnable war. No one's going to win in it.
Absolutely.
And also, when you do these provocative things like these Ulchi Freedom Guardian drills, what you also do is put North Korea to make them do the drills as well. So they have to do these drills, which they're an impoverished nation and they don't have enough to feed everyone anyway. It's like, hey, guess what, everyone? Get your fancy clothes out and get off the meth and get a meal because we got to show the world what we got.
Yeah.
Hideous. It's a sad
and they're really small as well.
The North Koreans? Well,
man, check out the soul when you see them. When you see them marching. Oh yeah. They're just real.
So
not because they're far
all the North Korean little people?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I look at them. They don't.
How can they all be the same height?
No.
They got to be binding their shoes.
Have a look at them. Right.
Oh,
Next
now,
time.
now you're gonna make me want to buy one, and I'm gonna want to
What
get one
is
for my
interesting,
kid.
I think, about them is that they are absolute, and we have made them so from the obliteration of the Korean War, experts in asymmetric warfare, in that they work very much with like the small, I believe, 4 or 6 man brick, as does the SAS, as do all like the the top forces. So they have learned that like the best thing they can have to defend everywhere is 80,000 guys the same size marching exactly the same height that are all skilled in the exact same things that can interchange with each other, and through that are very difficult to kill. They're not in groups anywhere. They're spread out immediately.
You wouldn't want to find one in your garden.
Terrifying.
Like you wouldn't want to find a North Korean troop in your garden. You'd be like, "Fuck, how do I get rid of that?"
The strategy is quite well known, as Wade just said. That it's known to be a bloodbath for the entire planet. That's why.
That's what they would.
It's like a dumb bullet, maximum damage that they want to inflict on it, because they know it's like if you want to keep your feet locked, and some bouncers, for example, I've never been kicked out of a bar, but if I was and bouncers wanted to pull me, I'd want to lock myself onto the stool. Right. You want to hold yourself in as much as you can and get behind the bar. Anyway, I'm banned from the Weatherspoons and Crouch End.
You really know about that.
Mm-hmm.
And also now they're talking about a new strategy in Afghanistan.
Can I just to say as well that the other thing that's a factor in it is the population base around North Korea, and that's another reason that it's just like known for sure large centers of Japan are going to die, and for sure all of South Korea is going to die, and that's maybe they do have a heart that I'm not seeing, and you say their concession was there that maybe they do care that much humanity would be obliterated no matter how
I can't see where
because that's the thing. What is the situation where it ends well and where it's end poorly?
Yeah.
And it's only
it can only end poorly.
Yes,
to be honest. And that means for even those North Koreans who aren't actually behind Kim Jong Un, which I feel that there's probably quite a few, at least a couple.
There's a lot of it's probably the winkingest country.
It's like, hey, look at there's some dude in North Korea taking the piss out of his haircut. Kim Jong-un. We're not the only people here. We say, look, that's way too high.
But you also know that
I think you have your sitcom.
You also know that us making fun of Kim Jong Un's haircut here, and someone watches this video, godforsaken North Korea. But if you do, thanks for watching. Subscribe, share.
Good one.
But if they do that, they die for actually watching this video. They die about us talking about.
Gone.
Yeah.
I just don't know of that. I don't know of the strictness of that behavior. Is it because it's the West?
Anything to do with them talking West or getting involved in the West and joking,
anything
you're
to do with
anything
West.
You're not allowed anything in there.
You can't do it.
Punchline.
Yeah, you can't.
No.
That's why I don't have Facebook in China.
I think the only thing that gets in there is Top Gear. I think that's the only
Top Gear?
Top Gear apparently is one of the shows that gets in there.
That says a lot. That says a lot.
Well, BBC Worldwide. Really? When they were doing it,
because it's sanctioned by the regime.
Because BBC has a great worldwide distribution, and that was something that was sanctioned. He's a car lover, and certain shows they allowed to show, and I think Top Gear was one of them.
Okay. Wow. Only child status.
But only to the you're not going to show the poor people. It's like, hey, look at this car, look at this Bugatti Veyron. Hey, you're never going to see it, nor will you ever make parts for it.
Torture. It was like being Canadian.
Yeah.
You're sitting there as a kid, and Americans are showing their
cereal.
Or Dr. Pepper, you're just like, you don't sell that. Only because Americans, as you said, the French with the English, because you wouldn't retool your factories to put the necessary mandatory French on the side of the products, right?
Oh, okay.
So American products quite often just wouldn't bother to sell to like the satellite area that was Canada, and at the same time we'd just be like drooling, looking at the TV, like,
we want it.
I remember shopping trips where we would go across into Buffalo, New York, and you'd go into these shopping malls and you'd see all this food. It's like, oh my god, and you just grab all this horrible stuff that had all these preservatives we weren't allowed to have,
but tasted great.
But they were just it tastes. You're just like Twinkies.
They were the right color.
Sort of having a twitch on my mind.
Tasty cakes.
America spreads all over the world. Some good stuff, some
spreads
bad.
its cancer wherever it goes.
So what I was saying, touching on earlier, Afghanistan. Hey, should we go back? That seemed to work out well before, didn't it? They want to increase the forces, apparently. Yeah. Even though Bannon was like, I think that was also one of the things, because he's like anti-Afghanistan, anti-spreading, whereas I think Trump is being influenced by the generals. Look, we're not done here. We don't know if it's ever going to be done.
But they don't want national troops, though, do they? They want to send in contractors.
Those special forces.
Right.
Well,
contractors led by special force.
Just like Vietnam.
Yeah, men without a conscience. Soldiers sending the A-team pretty much before they became the A-team.
Yeah. I don't think that's a good idea.
No.
I think that's a terrifying potential of bloodbath on all sides.
Yeah.
I think there's a point as well. You know, you can argue the morality of military service from the bottom up, and might be pulling down every statue in the world if you thought to do that. Yeah. But the fact is, you also at some point have to give nod to like the special forces guys who probably don't want to also die as well, and be involved in every theater of the world in, you know, glorious conflict. It's really it's at least exhausting on our you know, on our fellow citizens.
Yes,
you're not seeing our troops die. You're seeing these guys that don't want to be known, and the guys whose job is not to be known, but they get paid way more as special contractors to go out there.
But let's argue as well,
because it's like they're building a wall out there
of bodies.
Who of course were probably fed from a force in the world, so you know that they were military before that, and we can all agree that what's going on now, and it's happening and it's hideous, is that like 99, I'm not going to say that because I don't know statistically, but like, you know, let's say 30% of them are coming back total psychos to a degree, like, and I'm not saying psycho in an aggressive, offensive way. I'm saying like troubled, badly troubled, whether
death and destruction and terror and things humans shouldn't have to see.
Not having a normal or enjoyable life, and that's even like Canadian guys, lots of, you know, countries that you don't expect it, Danish, you know, all that, like, you know, NATO countries. Do we want more of them in that scenario? You know, it's a conundrum. I think that we should again be looking at like, pull it in a bit. It's ridiculous.
Well, it then comes to a point of how far do we extend ourselves to take over other people's problems and problems that we created.
Okay, does this bring us to the heroin puppies?
Sure.
You know, why else do they want to be there? Of course, we all know that statistic.
Heroin has gone, production's gone up 4 times.
Yeah, and in minutes upon our you know, occupation, of course.
And it had dropped down before, and now loads of heroin being made there, and heroin epidemics hitting Middle America harder than ever.
Yeah.
So there's those problems as well.
I think to a degree it spot fires in terms of like how much Syria has shut down the gateway of petrochemicals through that area. So I don't know if they're going for broke anymore. And to my mind, they're marrying themselves to, like, as we love to do, to morality, like the Kurdish independence issue. So you know, we're sort of, America's put its boots deeply in a part of Syria and neighboring countries, and is now, you know, working well with Turkey again. But whether or not that means that Afghanistan is like off of the focus for a while because they don't have the big play anymore.
Well, they're looking. Apparently, they're building a massive military base in northern Iraq.
Right.
So near Mosul, apparently.
Who's they?
America.
Oh, right.
America's doing it for their team. For their team. For their team.
Us, in fact.
But it's mostly to do it. It's mostly to do it also because of the fact that when America pulled out of Iraq last time, that's when ISIS stepped in, and they didn't have anything to help the people, and they didn't have a base there. So at least then it's like, oh, look, we'll put a base there. At least that way, because what they did is the Americans sold and gave them all this military equipment, and then you'd have like certain areas where they train like, you know, 20,000 of these guys, these new Iraqi soldiers. ISIS comes in and everyone's like, we give up. Here, have all the weapons. There you go. There's a tank. There's a plane. Go have it. And so they just gave away all this stuff. And America's like, oh, what have we done? We just gave them all the weapons.
As far as like, as far as
sound like The Simpsons.
It pretty much is.
As far as what's you know, they're suspected of, I consider those stories fanciful. I know that the actual events happened, but as far as the motivation for them, and you know, that we have, whether it's happenstance or not, provided air cover for ISIS operations. We know that's happened many times. So strategically, whether or not they're playing parallel games, and then ISIS just happens to benefit, or if you believe the deepest of the conspiracies that say that we're definitely involved, that we're in them, and
I mean, no, I would agree with you. I mean, it's that point of view is, although it is, I think it's slightly more complex than what you just described. I mean, that was quite a reductive way of saying that, you know, hey, here's our stuff. We don't want it anymore, you know. But
it's a way that they recognize that America had made some fundamental flawed strategies in the Iraq situation, that Britain did them in the Libya situation, that we've done them in many situations in Syria Algeria. And everywhere, that we can't go in and fight a war and then think it's all going to be good, then you leave, and then it all gets to shit, and then the people get screwed over, and Syria gets screwed over, as long as we get their oil, I guess, right?
I think they're going for what you're describing. I think it's a global network. And they already have it, whether, it's 800 bases of the States, but, to have like the mesh around so they can, assist each other again with spot fire behaviors. And
then anytime anyone else does it, like China puts up those little islands, it's like, you can't do that. We want to do that.
We forget that. We haven't even mentioned that they're, of course, inflaming China, which is something that, China essentially stopped the Korea crisis. Why the focus has come off it. I don't know what's going to happen with the military parades coming up, but like that China said boldly that, hey, we're going to knock things out of the sky. If it starts and it's coming from the U.S. side, we're going to bat them away as best we can and are capable. And then said to the same thing, chastised Korea and just said, if you start the thing, we're, not on your team. It's a pretty
it's strong enough.
Checkers, mate.
It hasn't been that strong in what they've been doing. So, I mean, they're past.
Of course, they have a
lot
side
of bullshit.
as well. But but it's a nice thing for like another superpower to buttress off.
It's nice. Well, at least to be able to step in and put some sort of sobering thought.
Everyone's going to die if you guys make a move.
And that's they'll be in the middle of it, and they're going to have fallout. You think the skies in Beijing smelled before?
Imagine
melting faces.
Imagine a guy coming out of the behind like the cooking area during the OK Corral shootout, just getting up on the top of the building and just like, nobody move! I'll kill everyone. It's, this is essentially what China's now done on the planet. Someone that a country that's been ignored and in many ways. Now they're actually dictating, global politics. It's phenomenal.
Their power, man.
Sure.
Before we close this off, we'll talk about. I want to end on some happy news. Jerry Lewis is dead. I mean, no, it's not happy.
I thought you were going to actually fall backwards in the chair.
The French applaud uproariously. But what I remember this time of year as we get into autumn, I remember as a kid watching those Jerry Lewis telethons in North America. He used to raise a lot of money, and I used to like it. Because I would just see all these artists and entertainers on it. As a kid growing up with no TV in Canada, and you see this, you're like, "Oh my God, Hulk Hogan's on there!"
And it never stops.
And I did admit, I did pledge money, and of course, I had no money. You can't ask money for an 8-year-old. I pledged $5 just to see my name go across.
Nice.
Yeah.
You were
sorry, muscular dystrophy. I owe you $5. And he was,
well done.
He had a lot of, I don't know, his career. I mean, near the end of it, I don't know if you see some of the interviews. He was known as a bit of a difficult man by the end of it. But
in what way?
He was just a bit of a dick. He was just known as being really harsh and really kind of arrogant. And just being really hard on people.
Autographs.
There's one interview, and it's like an interview he did, and it's like this 7-minute interview. He's just like so pissed. But he's like 90 at this point, or like 89 or something. He's just like,
give people
you're doing it
breaks,
wrong, and you're doing this.
Unless they're Japanese, then you're just like, hey, quit being a dick. Jeez, you can be around in 30 years. You straighten yourself out.
But did you have any influences from Jerry Lewis, or do you ever remember watching? Do you ever watch King of Comedy?
That is awesome.
Yeah, as comedians.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I do remember watching it, but I didn't.
Now, do you know about the other movie he did called The Day the Clown Died?
No, I don't know.
No, The Day the Clown Died is one movie he had buried, 1971, and it was about him.
Is that what won him friends?
No, this was about him playing the clown as the kids were led to the gas chambers in the concentration camps. The Nazis hired a clown to like entertain. But apparently, now I haven't seen it because apparently it's considered one of the worst movies ever. Apparently, he was making jokes, maybe what he shouldn't have been.
It's mesmerizing.
Apparently, no. So what he did?
God. Is that right? So the outtakes is the funniest thing that's ever happened.
There's a trailer for it now. What happened is though he's donated to the Library of Congress in 2015 and said you have to wait 10 years until you show it.
Right.
Yeah. So in 2025, we will see the clown movie about him.
The concentration camp
kid entertainer.
That's amazing.
The Day the Clown Died.
I hope I live that long.
Wow.
That's outrageous.
Which even the title just sort of gets you. It's not like
hooked.
Patch Adams.
Yeah. Hope it comes out in 3D.
The Clown Died.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Yeah.
But there's also things about his old relationship. When you look at post-war, the comedy he did, post-war to try to loosen the tensions, particularly being a Jewish entertainer. After all this shit that went down. Yeah, sure. And him partnering up with Dean Martin and watching a lot of those old performances, it was very nostalgic.
Sure.
Well, it's just not nostalgia. The guy was a genius.
Yeah.
He's a definite genius. I mean, I think even Woody Allen. There's an interview where he was mentioning sort of particular comedians, and he said about Jerry Lewis. There are very few that are just naturally have all of the performance pyrotechnics and the ability that Jerry Lewis had. You know, I mean, and as far as being a dick, dude, there's a lot of dicks.
Oh, a lot of dicks.
A lot of dicks in comedy, man.
Yeah, I'd say.
You know what I mean?
You're speaking, and I just think Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
You know, like
well, I'm saying
don't know.
even people in our circuit. I'm saying there's a lot of people who are just like, you know, there's a big difference between being funny on stage and funny in life, and that's quite. There are very few people that are genuinely like
now,
that.
I want to touch on one other comic though, who I think is more overlooked, who I actually think had a greater significance, and that's Dick Gregory, who died at 84.
Such a shame.
You have a guy who has always been a civil rights icon. In the 1960s, he ran for the mayor of New York, or mayor of Chicago in 1967. He ran for the president in 1968.
Yeah.
He was one of the first civil rights guys to really go out there and to really push it and to use comedy where he actually talked about his perspective as a black man in the 60s.
Well, he's particularly one of my heroes.
What do you think of his? Is it Ike-like for you to interrupt? I'm apologizing, but when he goes into like he's pretty deep conspiracy theorist, right? According to the American government, and I'd say like way down the line, right? As far as conspiracies go, which you know, thankfully I am, and I still enjoy his comedy. But I wonder sometimes if he clearly turned off a mainstream element of potential fame because of, I would imagine, his his beliefs. Well, do you believe that, or do you agree with that? How did you feel when you listened? I mean,
well, I think that's probably on the latter part of his career before, you know, because when he first started off, the sheer fact that he was one of the few black comedians talking about black issues, it just thrusted him into that realm of
profit.
Well, not profit.
Oh, right.
But of being a civil rights sort of person. Just because he was,
I consider those people.
Yeah,
prophets.
It's a bit like
Martin Luther King.
It's like any of these people, like Sammy Davis Jr. And people like Dick Gregory. I mean, his autobiography, Nigga, which is amazing, and he's like one of the most influential.
And he uses a small N in it.
Yeah,
he uses a small N to classify just how his status is in America.
Yeah. And it was
1960 was 1967.
Oh, he's fantastic. He has. That's what he influenced my first Edinburgh show. Chink.
Did he?
Yeah, Chink. That was the one. But anyway,
stop it.
The thing was,
are you being funny?
No, that was my first show.
That was his Edinburgh show.
That was my first show.
Nice
but
work.
the thing is, he uses an anecdote.
I don't get
in
any
there.
custom questions. What's going on?
He uses an anecdote.
I did fuck a moose.
Did you fucking move?
No, I didn't.
Really?
I was sorry.
Oh, gosh, man.
Sorry.
That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but he uses an anecdote where he was in a situation with a racist person who was saying, "Hey, boy, we're gonna do what you're gonna do to that chicken on your plate, right?" And he just looked at it. He said, and he just kissed the chicken.
Yeah, but he kissed it on the butt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's the kind of thing. Yeah. And he's just
so funny.
I think he's funny, and he was just like, this is before any black comedians just talked about being black.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, I just
did you ever
I miss that guy.
Did you ever watch him? It's the only thing I really know of him, and I've watched it, maybe 5 times in my life. But when he opened for Bob Marley and the Wailers,
no, I didn't see that one.
Oh,
I have loads of his vinyls.
Oh, do so. Just it's phenomenal because you get to see him like win over a pretty like lazy stadium, and they're out in the sun, and you know, and people definitely don't know who he is. And from a comedian's point of view, it's really moving, to see somebody just like in a bad situation, and he doesn't. I wouldn't even say he just plugged away and won. He just like was himself.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that always
was wonderful. It's beautiful.
Always impressed upon me was that whatever sort of ethnicity you are when you get on stage, and you know there's a certain judgment call that everybody makes, especially in this country. It will be about either race or class, especially. But the thing about Dick Gregory, which always is left with me, is that he aspired to be considered a human being when he was on stage, and that to me it's always left me with that's what I want to be.
Yeah,
perfect.
And,
you want your perspective to be there.
Just the humanity.
He's a human being.
Yeah,
and it's just like if you leave that with an audience or with anybody, or after we leave this table, it's like that's great.
And that is a good way to end. It's a great way to end this podcast. It is, because we all want to be treated like humans and look like humans at the end of the day. And I'm going to end this, everyone. Thank you guys for joining me. And I end this on a Dick Gregory quote, when he was asked last year about what to do with Donald Trump. People were asking what they thought would do, and he said, "You don't have to do a damn thing. This country's not going to make it 4 years. It's over."
He's
Thanks
a prophet.
Thanks a lot for joining us, guys.
Cheers. Nice to meet
Craig
you.
Campbell,
Cheers.
Rick Kiesewetter, guys,
Nice to see you,
please
Craig.
like, share, and enjoy Scrotus Potus. Thanks for joining us for another episode.